Welcome to your Catholic Drive Time,
keeping you informed and inspired.
We love God, we ought to be able to talk about Him.
Getting you started on your day
with the latest in breaking news and information
from the Vatican to the White House and everything in between.
It's serious, it's fun, it's your Catholic Drive Time.
And welcome to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Today is Friday, January 12th, 2024. Yeah, that's right, 2024. I'm on a roll. Haven't messed up in a few days. The saint of the day is Saint Benedict Biscop. That's probably not the correct pronunciation. It's a Northumbrian name, so I'm not an expert in Northumbrian. But he was born in 628 into Northumbrian nobility. He was raised in the court of the King of England. He served King Oswy as a personal aide-de-camp, which I had to look that word up, and it's, I think, one of my new favorite words. Basically, he was a close confidant of the king, and so an aide-de-camp, distinguishing himself in the use of arms and receiving numerous awards for his valor and for his fidelity. Now, after a pilgrimage to Rome, Benedict decided to leave his military career and enter the religious life. He actually went to the king and requested permission. Imagine that conversation. How amazing it must have been to go up to the king, your close confidant, you're his close confidant. You are a military leader. You have valor in battle, and you go to your king in all humility and ask him to take your sword, for you would like to take on the habit. Well, he went on to aid to promoting Roman religious art and liturgy there in Britain. Benedict was a member of the Order of St. Benedict. Can you believe it? What a coincidence. He founded several monasteries, with the monastery of St. Peter at Wearmouth in 674 being the most notable. He also reformed existing monasteries to ensure a strict adherence to the rule of life. He was a trusted advisor to St. Theodore and the Archbishop of Canterbury and to St. Adrian, contributing to their activities there in England. Now, do we know anything about St. Adrian? I couldn't find anything about him. I wanted to know more about that part of his story there. From there, Benedict initiated an extensive program in architecture and art. He introduced stained glass windows, wall paintings, Roman music, and sacred chants in the English churches. He facilitated the introduction of Roman religious styles to England, bringing in Italian architects and artists and liturgists, which greatly influenced English religious practice and aesthetics. He also standardized the religious ceremonies, authoring a book titled On the Celebration of Feast, which played a significant role in organizing religious festivals. And now, at the end of his life, Benedict suffered from a painful paralysis that severely tested his patience, ultimately ending in his death in 690. Now, there are two kinds of saints, especially during the early church, thinking the first about 1,000 years or so. There are those nation builder saints, and then there are the nation embellisher saints. Benedict's role was as a nation embellisher. He succeeded the area of nation founding saints there in England, and Benedict's contribution in art and architecture spread from religious to even the temporal spheres, enhancing the beauty of England during his time. Now, it's important to keep this last thing in mind, and this is the lesson that we should take from Benedict. His embellishments were driven by deep contemplation and a warrior spirit. Why is this important to keep in mind and to think about? Because whenever there are weak men creating art, you get the art of the Renaissance, which no one would doubt is highly skillful. But you start seeing the rise of decadence, because decadence results from effeminate men, from weak men, from men not willing to engage in the fight, those men who are not engaged in contemplation. Whereas you see the art that comes before that during medieval times, where it may not have been as perfect in its form, but its intention and its direction was all geared towards heavenly things as its primary end. So this combined nation of profound meditation and strength characterized the early stages of artistic development in these nations, marking Benedict as a key figure in the culture and religious development in England. So what do we pray for from St. Benedict on this, his feast day? Well, let's pray and ask him to give us a spirit of contemplation and a warrior spirit, so that way we may bring back the beauty that has been lost in our decadent age. St. Benedict Biscop, pray for us. Joining us right now is Rudy Carlos. Good morning to you, Rudy.
Good morning, Adrian. Speaking of beauty, right? It's just amazing. It's a great design. You know, we're giving away a 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLB 250.
No kidding.
And you got to take a look at this car, man.
All right. Where do I go to look it up?
Go to grnonline.com/raffle, and you're going to see all of the wonderful photos of this car that we're giving away here at the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Whoa.
It looks amazing. It comes in night black, and you can win it, dear listener. All you have to do is go to grnonline.com/raffle. And we're doing something a little bit differently this year. You can pick up a ticket not only for yourself, but one for your family, a family member, a person that you love, a person you think that needs a car, and you can pay it forward this time. Pick up a ticket for yourself and somebody you know and love, somebody who needs a car, and you can pick them up for $25 a piece, or you can save and buy 5 for $100. grnonline.com/raffle.
There you go. Praise be to God. grnonline.com/raffle. I just got an email a few minutes ago saying that we have sold 154 pay it forward tickets so far. And our goal is 1,000 pay it forward tickets. So if you'd like to join us in that, grnonline.com/raffle. Now, Rudy, today is a very, very special day. Do you know what day it is?
Today is Friday.
It is Friday. That's so true.
We made it.
So true, King. We made
you
it to the
did
weekend.
it, but at what cost?
But at what cost? Today is also the day of the baptism of my cousin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My cousin Ivy, a little baby Ivy, she's really cute, is getting baptized by my friend later today. So I'm really excited to go to that baptism tonight.
That's really cool, man. I encourage everybody to look up their baptismal anniversary date, celebrate it like you would a birthday or something.
My anniversary is Easter.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's easy to remember.
I was baptized Easter 1998.
Cool.
So there you go.
Mine is March 19th.
March 19th.
Yep.
Praise be
Feast
to
day of
God.
St. Joseph. Let's
Praise be to
go.
God. But today is also special for another reason.
Okay. We talked about the car we're giving away. We talked about Friday. We talked about, well, what is it?
Well, today is actually the birthday of our producer, Tim Mott. Happy birthday, Tim.
Woohoo!
Praise be to God. Tim is waving. There we go. Praise be to God.
Stay tuned on the after show where I will sing happy birthday to him like Marilyn Monroe.
Please don't. Please don't.
Just kidding.
Maybe we'll sing, maybe during the after show, we'll sing him Las Mañanitas. I would say we'll sing happy birthday, but I'm pretty sure happy birthday is copyrighted. So
really?
Yeah, that's why most movies, they'll sing, for he's a jolly good fellow, because they don't want to pay the royalties of singing the happy birthday song.
Who owns the happy birthday song?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Or maybe we'll do the, may the dear Lord bless you. May the dear Lord bless you. Maybe we'll do that instead. We'll see. We'll see. So stick with us. We're going to have an awesome after show celebrating Tim's birthday. But God bless you guys. Thank you for joining us. And we got a lot to cover today, so let's jump straight into it all. At 15 past the hour, a man on video attacked a Las Vegas judge. That has national significance for one particular reason, and I'll tell you about that. Plus, the Ecuador military did something that was really cool. I'll tell you about that coming up at 15 past the hour. 30 past the hour, Andrew Petiprin is going to be on with us to talk about Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list. And in the next hour, Dave Palmer just can't handle it anymore. So we're going to talk about Immanuel Kant, and St. Thomas Aquinas. This coming up on the show today. So you want to stick tuned for everything. Let's begin with prayer. We're going to be praying the divine praises as an act of reparation against blasphemies against the most holy name of Jesus. We're going to pray for the salvation of souls, the liberty and exaltation of Holy Mother Church, for our friends, family, and benefactors, and all those we promise to pray for. And for a special way today, we pray for Tim on his birthday. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen. Blessed be God, blessed be his holy name, blessed be Jesus Christ, true God and true man. Blessed be the name of Jesus, blessed be his most sacred heart, Blessed be his most precious blood. Blessed be Jesus in the most holy sacrament of the altar. Blessed be the Holy Spirit, the Paraclete. Blessed be the great Mother of God, Mary most holy. Blessed be her holy and immaculate conception. Blessed be her glorious assumption. Blessed be the name of Mary, Virgin and Mother. Blessed be Saint Joseph, her most chaste spouse. Blessed be God in his angels and in his saints. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. And now, your headline news with Rudy Carlos.
Good morning. You're listening to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. And here are just some of your breaking news and headlines today. The African bishops say no to blessing for homosexual couples in the African churches. In response to new Vatican guidelines permitting non-liturgical pastoral blessings of homosexual couples, the bishops of Africa have issued a united statement in which they say there will be no blessings for homosexual couples in the African churches. The letter was written by Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo and was the synthesis of all of the African bishops' opinions. He says that while the African bishops have strongly reaffirmed their communion with Pope Francis, they believe that the extra-liturgical blessings that are proposed in the Declaration Fiducia Supplicans cannot be carried out in Africa without exposing themselves to scandals. And the COVID 6 feet social distancing rule likely lacked scientific basis, Fauci admits. In a subcommittee on the COVID pandemic, Dr. Anthony Fauci revealed that the 6 feet apart recommendation, championed by him and many other U.S. public health officials, was likely not based on scientific data. This is according to Chairman Brad Wenstrup from Ohio, who also said, quote, "It's clear that dissenting opinions were often not considered or suppressed. And should a future pandemic arise, America's response must be guided by scientific facts and conclusive data," unquote. Now just imagine, if they got that one wrong, what else did they make up out of the blue? Who knows? And the U.S. insufficiently tracked more than $1 billion worth of weapons for Ukraine, the Pentagon watchdog finds. The investigation focused on how the Department of Defense kept tabs on nearly 40,000 items considered sensitive and especially vulnerable to smuggling operations. DoD officials failed to compile full or timely inventories of 69% of the $1.6 billion worth of items. Lawmakers in recent months have intensified pressures for increased oversight on weapons, equipment, and humanitarian assistance devoted to Ukraine since the invasion. The items encompassed in the watchdog report represented just a fraction of the nearly $45 billion worth of security aid the U.S. has committed, and highlights the challenges to the end use and monitoring of war zone equipment. Now, those are some of your headline news this morning, but stay tuned on Catholic Drive Time for more.
The gospel of the day comes from Mark chapter 2, verses 1 through 12, and it's very unfortunate that we don't have enough time to go through too much of this, but we'll focus on just a couple things here. One, this is the passage where our Lord heals the paralytic man who is brought by his four friends. Now, what do the four friends symbolize? The four friends symbolize the virtues of the fortitude, justice, temperance, and prudence. That's the four cardinal virtues, because it is those virtues that lift up a man, that is the man in the faith of his soul. This is from Cornelius a Lapide. The other thing that's important to keep in mind is the fact that he forgives his sins and then heals him of the paralysis. And Cornelius a Lapide says, okay, our Lord asked, which is easier? And in one way, you could say, saying your sins are forgiven is easier because you're just saying the words. There's no way to prove whether or not it happened or not. I can say your sins are forgiven, but I can't actually forgive your sins. So in one way, it's easier, but in reality, it's more difficult because to forgive someone's sins, you have to be able to truly forgive their sins. You have to be someone who has infinite power, because all offenses against God are infinite offenses, for we offend God, who is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving. And so when we offend him, the debt we incur cannot be surmounted by human hands. So yes, he healed the paralytic man, but more importantly and more amazingly, he healed and forgave his sins. We'll be right back with more.
Hello, this is Steve Gleason with your 1-minute tool for Catholic evangelism. Here's the question for your non-Catholic friend. What does it take to constitute an actual church? Well, here's your 3 best friendship tools for Catholic evangelism. Number 1, a gathering of Christians is not automatically a church. Although Matthew 18 says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am in their midst, that is not a text to be interpreted as a premise for a church. That's a requirement to legitimize an accusation. Secondly, Catholic teaching. Christ established and sustains the church as both a mystical community and a visible organization with hierarchy and jurisdiction. And thirdly, my take. Eventually, you have to decide what one item is absolutely essential for our Lord to say, that's my church. So is it a church if there's simply a common belief in the Bible? Or perhaps just a doctrinal agreement? Is it compliance to the Apostles' Creed? Could it be the stamp of approval from a denomination? Maybe an ordained pastor makes it officially a church. So, you know that place you've been attending every Sunday morning at 10 a.m.? Maybe it's not even a church. Maybe it's just a good, healthy hangout. Ooh.
Guadalupe Radio Network announces the launch of La Promesa Legacy Circle, formed to recognize and honor our dedicated donors who have made long-term commitments to the network through gifts from their estates. We invite you to join our family and allow us to be a part of your personal legacy. For more information on making a legacy gift for the benefit of the GRN and a guide to charitable estate planning, contact our friends at the Catholic Foundation at 972-661-9792 or info@catholicfoundation.com.
And welcome back to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Praise be to God. It's so good to be on with you today. Yes, it is good to be with you. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. No matter what they say, it's still good to be here. And you know why it's good to be here with you? Because today, we're still in the season of Epiphany. We're in Epiphany tide, which means that we can still give gifts. We can still give gifts. And if you're thinking, okay, well, I forgot to give gifts for that one family member, and I forgot to get a gift for that one friend, what should I do? Have any suggestions? Well, here's a suggestion for you. If you're looking for something to get that special friend of yours for the Christmas season, well, here is a suggestion. Think about going to grnonline.com/raffle. When you go to grnonline.com/raffle, you can actually pick up a raffle ticket for a chance to win a brand new Mercedes-Benz 2024 in night black. You can win that. Just go to grnonline.com/raffle. But not only could you win that prize, you could actually win it for someone else. You could purchase one and pay it forward, put it in their name. So that would be an awesome gift to give someone an opportunity to win a brand new car. So if you know anybody who you forgot to get a gift for, make sure that you go and check that out. That would be an awesome thing to do. That's grnonline.com/raffle. Okay, on to today's stories. There was a story, maybe you saw it on video because it kind of went viral. It's really bad, but it also was kind of funny. The headline is, man on video attacking Las Vegas judge was granted probation multiple times, once by the same judge. Now, just as a side note, it was kind of funny because the guy is standing there and he's talking about, I've reformed my life, everything is better, I've gotten help, and I had a lot of mental health problems, but I'm on the right track now. So would you please give me probation and let me go home? And he was already out. He was allowed to go home, and the judge was sentencing and saying, okay, well, your rap sheet is too long, too big. I'm not going to let you go. And the guy immediately curses at her, and Superman leaps over the judge's bench, tackles the lady to the ground, and then he gets jumped by all the police officers. And it was kind of funny because you just see the contrast. The guy is claiming, oh, yeah, I'm reformed. Everything is good. Everything's great. And immediately after he doesn't get what he wants, he immediately switches over and he leaps over the bench to try to attack her, which he successfully attacked her. Now, the reason why this story has national significance in my mind is because of how many crimes this guy committed and how long it took for him to get a real punishment. Because I'm going to go through some of his rap sheet, some of his history here. This is not uncommon. This is actually the norm. And it took him attacking a judge to get the book thrown at him. Nobody cares about the victims who he's attacked previously. He tried to attack somebody. I think he successfully attacked somebody with a baseball bat to the kneecaps. He has robbed people. The guy's committed so many crimes, it's ridiculous. And let's see if I can go through some of these things. It says Redden, who appeared in court with his mother, had 3 felony convictions and 9 misdemeanor convictions on his record, according to documents the 8 News Now investigators obtained. In 2012, he was convicted of assault causing bodily injury to a family member. A judge sentenced him to 45 days in jail. In 2013, Redden was convicted 3 times for domestic battery, documents said. He was ordered to attend anger management classes and spend 2 months in jail and pay a fine. In 2014, Redden was convicted for attempted theft, documents say. A judge sentenced him to probation, which he violated several times. Redden then entered a mental health court program. While on probation, Redden was twice convicted of domestic battery, tampered with his alcohol monitoring bracelet, and violated other terms, documents said. He was also charged with kicking police officers in the knee. Also, during his probation in 2018, Redden was convicted of battery with substantial bodily harm. In that case, he bit a woman and broke the windows of a man's car with a rock. Again, a judge sentenced Redden to probation. A judge honorably discharged him from probation in 2020 and 2021. In 2021, Redden was convicted again for domestic battery. In that case, a different judge sentenced him to a term of 12 to 30 months. A board granted Redden parole in 2022. Also in 2021, police charged Redden with attempted home invasion and destroying the property of another person. In January 2023, Redden appeared before Holthus, and then this happened. So this is his rap sheet. Why did it take him attacking a judge for them to throw the book at him? He should have had the book thrown at him from the beginning. How many people's lives were altered completely because people refused to enforce the law? Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. Because this isn't mercy. Who is this mercy to? Allowing this man back on the streets, he commits domestic battery over and over and over again. And they give him a few days, maybe a couple months in jail, and he's back out, he does it again. And not until he attacks a judge does anybody care. This is the common thing. The people who are in charge, our judges, our politicians, they don't care that crime affects you and I. They don't care until it affects them. And then they're saying, oh, we need to throw this guy in jail for life. Well, yeah, what about the people who were initially harmed? How do you think they feel? What do you think they think about this? So I'm glad the guy is getting the book thrown at him now. And I imagine he's going to get a long time in jail. He has a hearing in February now. And they're charging him with an additional, I think, 8 counts of felony battery because they're counting every single police officer that jumped him and he attacked all of them. So he's getting charged with a lot more. But it took all this. So let this be a lesson for us to say, let's not wait until things get this bad before we decide, okay, now we're going to try to enforce the law. Let's enforce the law from the beginning. It's kind of crazy how things work. If you enforce a law, you have less crimes. It's pretty amazing how that works. So on to this story. Let's switch over to a good news story. This is a really cool story. I saw this and I was super, super enthused by it. So this is from Tradición y Acción Ecuador, which is the TFP branch in Ecuador. They put out this video where they are doing they're doing a Fatima visit, but it's with Our Lady of Good Success. And they brought it to the Ecuadorian military. And so they went to the Ecuadorian military, and they were shouting, Viva Cristo Rey, Viva la Virgen Maria. And so they were chanting that. And they brought Our Lady of Good Success, and all the soldiers in Ecuador were coming to venerate Our Lady of Good Success. It was really, really cool. I saw this, and the TFP members are all taking pictures with the military. The military is coming around. They're all posing around Our Lady of Good Success for a group photo. It's really cool. I am very impressed by this, and I hope and pray that we have the same spirit here in the United States. Imagine if we had our military having Our Lady of Fatima come visit the military, and then all the members of the military get around and take pictures with Our Lady of Fatima. So praise be to God. I know things are really bad in Ecuador right now, and there's a lot of civil unrest. There is armed conflict in Ecuador, and maybe, just maybe, this will cause people to have a return to Our Lady of Good Success, because Our Lady of Good Success is a Ecuadorian devotion primarily. That was where the apparitions originally happened. Obviously, it's for all of us, but most primarily for them. So there's your good news story for the day. Now on to this story. Vatican officials says St. Peter's Basilica will bless homosexual couples. Clergy at St. Peter's Basilica will bless same-sex couples, according to a report in the Italian newspaper La Messaggero. That's probably mispronouncing that. Italian. The only words I can pronounce are some English words. You have to forgive me. English is my first language. The archpriest of Rome's most famous church, Cardinal Mauro Gambetti, has stated that blessings of homosexual couples could happen there. He says, quote, to show the world the maternal face of the church and along the lines of what Pope Francis has asked for, Gambetti reportedly said. However, he added that as yet nobody has asked for the canons of the basilica for such a blessing. He said, quote, it doesn't seem to me that reports have come in, the cardinal stated, and added that they, presumably the clergy of the basilica, will move straight along the furrow that has been cut. So what do we learn from this? We learn, one, they will be blessing same-sex couples at St. Peter's Basilica. Two, it hasn't happened yet. And three, it'll happen very, very soon. As soon as this news came out, you know some homosexual activists are planning a trip to St. Peter's Basilica to ask so they can get pictures and get all these things. It'll make national news. So just letting you know ahead of time what's coming so you're not scandalized by it when it happens. Because they're telling you, we're going to do this. No one's asked for it yet, so we haven't done it yet. But we're perfectly, and we are all willing to do it. So that is a very concerning story. Hopefully the clergy there have a little bit of resistance and don't go along to get along. Okay. One more thing. I wanted to talk about the African bishop story, but Rudy covered it, so I'll save that for like the last 30 seconds if we have time. But I do want to make a prediction. So, Donald Trump yesterday was in an interview, and he said that he had, in fact, chosen a VP, but he wouldn't announce who it was.
Okay, all right. Look, I know people are speculating already. Mm-hmm. It's me.
I knew it. That was going to be my guess.
Yeah, I ran into him at a Whataburger, and he was like, hey, we just got to talking, and I said, hey, man, you got a VP? I was really bold about it, right? I had a resume ready, and I just gave it to him.
He was like, wow, you've done photography in California?
He said, wow. I can't even do the Trump impression.
No, I personally think that he's going to choose, and he's going to announce today that's going to be Rand Paul.
On a Friday?
On a Friday. You know why? Because Rand Paul announced yesterday that he had a big announcement that he was going to make today. And he said, he was like, I haven't talked about the presidential elections at all, which is very strange for me, but I wanted to make an announcement, so tune in tomorrow, and I'll be making a major announcement about the presidential run. And I was like, And it would make sense, because it would help gather some of the libertarian votes over to Donald Trump's side. Mm-hmm. So I could see that being a political strategy there. So that's my prediction. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and Rand Paul is going to make I don't know what other announcement he can make about the presidential election that would be of any consequence.
Should we make bets about it?
No, definitely not. I do not like making bets. I hate losing money. I am gambling averse. That is averse. I am not. That is not my vice. My vice is Dr. Pepper.
Good to know.
So there you go. All right, we're gonna go to a quick break. When we come back, Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list. Did you even know the Vatican had a film list? We're gonna talk about that coming up in just one moment. So don't go anywhere. We're going to want to tune in because we have a lot more on Catholic Drive Time right after this.
This is Dale Ahlquist with a Chesterton Minute. Have you ever heard someone say, I accept some of the things the church teaches, but I could never embrace the entire creed because there are some things in it that I just don't have any use for? G.K. Chesterton says, you might as well say that there's a great many things in the Encyclopedia Britannica that you don't have any use for. The church, like the encyclopedia, is meant for everybody, and not just for you. It is meant for everybody, which just happens to include you. The Catholic Church is a combination of things that are nevertheless one thing. We cannot accept only part of it without rejecting all of it. Want more than a minute? Visit our website at www.chesterton.org.
Hi, Julie Carrick here, host of We Sing Our Faith, sharing the music and ministry of many of today's Catholic recording artists. I am delighted to be the host of this weekly program on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock Central Time. Julie Carrick with We Sing Our Faith, Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock Central, here on the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. I'm Rudy Carlos, and here are more breaking news and headlines for you. The Biden administration trained teachers to censor conservative media. The Biden administration reportedly worked with a German government agency to train hundreds of American school teachers to turn their students against conservative media. One would think that the United States Embassy to Germany would be focused on advancing the interests of the United States and Germany, wrote Tim Kilcullen. He says continuing under the Biden administration, though, it was the reverse. And here's another one. The U.S. and U.K. launch retaliatory strikes against Iran-backed Houthis, answering months of attacks on global trade. The U.S. and U.K. executed a joint strike against 60 Houthi targets in Yemen to counter threats to merchant shipping in the Red Sea. The strike, involving warships, aircraft, and a submarine, aimed to degrade the Houthi capabilities. Radar systems and air defense and missile sites were the main targets of the strikes, with the U.K. contributing RAF Typhoon jets for precision strikes. Typhoon jets, that sounds really cool. The joint action follows warnings of consequences for continued Houthi attacks on global trade ships in the Red Sea. Concerns arise over disruptions in the sea, impacting shipping costs and inflation in the West. Now, those are all of your headline news this morning. Thank you for listening to Catholic Drive Time, and may God bless all of your holy efforts today.
Thank you, Rudy, for keeping us up to date. And I want to know what a typhoon jet is. Is that a jet powered by typhoons?
It's a typhoon appears and the jet comes out of it.
It shoots out typhoons.
Oh my goodness!
Imagine, that's what it would be. Nah, it's probably just a cool name.
I want to be the copy editor for military equipment.
Just
come up with the coolest stuff. It's like market it to them.
It's a tornado engine. It's like, oh, does it like have the horsepower of a tornado, or does it like what is it powered by tornado? No, I just like the name tornado engine.
Yeah,
it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. It's probably easy to market.
You know what else is a really cool name?
Popcorn with the Popes.
I was going to say a Mercedes-Benz. I was going to say Mercedes-Benz in night black, specifically a 2024 Mercedes-Benz in night black. But that is also cool. In fact, if someone wanted a Mercedes-Benz, but they were like, I can't drop, I don't know, what is it, $60,000, $70,000 on a Mercedes-Benz. How else could someone get one?
Well, you would have to crack open your laptop, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go type in grnonline.com/raffle, and you'll see all of the information, pictures of the car, the specs of the car, the designation GLB, which means God loves blessing, and he's going to love blessing you if you win this car.
Right.
And you can purchase tickets there. It's really convenient. All you have to do is go to grnonline.com/raffle and pick up a ticket for yourself or one of your loved ones.
How much are tickets?
$25 a pop. Or if you're economically minded, you can save, buy 5 for $100.
Oh, wow. That's significantly less than like $60,000, $70,000.
Yeah,
wow.
for sure.
Wow.
And chances are pretty good.
There you go. So if you'd like to have a chance to win a brand new Mercedes-Benz 2024 GLB 250 in night black, then all you have to do is go to grnonline.com/raffle.
It's got a Typhoon engine.
It's got a Typhoon engine
Just
named
kidding.
by
I
Rudy
made that
Carlos just now. But joining us right now is Andrew Petiprin. He is one of the co-authors of Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list. Good morning to you, Mr. Andrew.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Praise be to God. It's good to have you on. Now, Mr. Andrew, the Vatican film list here. I didn't even know the Vatican film list existed. I've never heard of the Vatican film list. And all of a sudden, Tim comes in. He's like, look what I got for Christmas. And he shows me this book. And I'm like, Vatican film list? I didn't know this existed. What is a Vatican film list? And Tim was like, okay, well, you need to invite one of these guys on and ask him what the Vatican film list is. Okay, I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. So tell me, Mr. Andrew, let's start from the beginning. What on earth is the Vatican film list?
Well, you are not alone in not knowing about the existence of this film list. But here's what it is. In 1995, the Vatican, in celebration of 100 years of the motion picture, issued very quietly this list of 45 movies, and there wasn't any rationale behind which movies were picked, really. There wasn't a lengthy description or anything. There was just a document issued, and it's available. You can find it on the Vatican website. You can find it online, anywhere. And the heading of the document says, some important films. That's it. And then beneath it are listed 45 movies broken up into the categories, 3 different categories of art, religion, and values, those 3 categories. And 45 films, a lot of them are European films. Some of them are American films. Some of them are very popular films. Some of them are very obscure films. But yeah, it was issued as a celebration of the motion picture. And interesting, too, because you may know that over the 100 years up to 1995 that the motion picture had existed, the Vatican had kind of a varying relationship with that particular art form. Early on, for example, in the 1930s, the popes were very concerned, actually, that motion pictures had a corrupting influence on people, which, of course, we know they do. But by the 1950s, 1960s, the popes and higher ups in the church came to understand that film was a very valuable art form as well that had a potentially very positive effect on people's souls in the same way that sculpture or painting or music does. So yeah, in 1995, this list came out, and amazingly, no one's ever written a book about these 45 films. So my co-authors, David Paul Baird and Father Michael Ward, and I decided to do that.
Wow. Well, this is what's interesting to me is, so initially my first thought was these are books that are endorsed by the Vatican, so they must be perfectly good movies. But some of these movies are probably not appropriate for all audiences. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And that's one of the most interesting things about this list. This is the films on this list, very few of them actually are explicitly Catholic movies. These are movies that are for the most part profound pieces of art, although some of them are light and breezy and fun. But it is an interesting statement about art coming from the church, namely saying art is a complicated thing, and its effect on people is also complicated because people are different, their tastes are different, and what strengthens them may be different. Now, the reason that the list is divided up into the 3 categories of art, religion, and values is to say to those who are evaluating the list, hey, look, different films fall into different categories for different purposes. So, for example, Schindler's List is on the list. That's a movie that came out in 1993. It's Steven Spielberg's great movie about the Holocaust. Now, that is a very important film, and I think a film that people, if they can take it, really ought to watch as a testimony to courage, to sacrifice, to our duty to each other, and in resisting evil. But it is also a movie that not only has very harsh language and violence in it, but even has a little bit of nudity in it. So it's definitely not a movie that the Vatican is saying everybody ought to go and see this movie. They're not saying that about any of the movies on the list. But what they are saying is, these are important movies, again, to come back to the original title of the list.
I see. Yeah, Mr. Petiprin. That's it reminds me of one of my favorite movies, Cinema Paradiso, where you see the priest is like cutting up all the film, making sure that there's nothing out in there that's pretty crazy.
It's
inappropriate or anything like that. But that's a good point. Maybe we should look at these movies with some sort of filter. But I'm curious. Have you watched all of the movies that are on the list?
Well, we divided the book up into three parts. David Paul Baird, one of my co-authors, actually wrote more chapters than I did or than Father Michael Ward did, but we all were responsible for a certain number of movies to review, and I got 11 of them, 11 of the 45 plus part of the introduction. So I've certainly seen those films and most of the other films on the list too, but there are a few that I haven't seen, and sooner or later I'll get around to it. But some of them it came down to almost drawing straws for who was going to have to review them, and because not all the movies on the list are ones that you would even look at and say that's one I really want to see. For example, there's a 5-hour movie on the list, a silent movie from the 1920s about Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, that is a movie that may not be for everybody, right? On the other hand, The Wizard of Oz is on the list. Fantasia is on the list. Chariots of Fire, Ben-Hur, movies that are just classics that everybody would really love to watch. So, there was a little bit of discussion among the three of us about who would get which movies, but I really feel like I lucked out. I got some really great ones. I got Schindler's List. I got Fantasia. I got The Wizard of Oz. I got It's a Wonderful Life, the great Christmas movie. So, not every movie on the list is everybody's cup of tea, but there are so many great ones on there that I would highly recommend to people.
Well, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, I want to dive into some of the particular examples that are listed here. We were talking more big picture this first part. And when we come back from our break, I want to get into the minutia and talk about some of these movies. And I think it'll be a great conversation to have. So stick with us. We're going to talk more about Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list with Andrew Petiprin when we come back on Catholic Drive Time. So don't go anywhere. Plus, remember, grnonline.com/raffle. Pick up a raffle ticket and you can be driving home with a brand new Mercedes-Benz. God bless you, and we'll see you in just 1 second.
When you find yourself peering into life's rearview mirror, wondering if your past will forever define you, it doesn't have to. Go to standtalltoday.com and register for your absolutely free consultation with one of our world-class life coaches. They can help you get started on a plan forward to living your best life. There's nothing to lose and an entire future to gain. Log on to standtalltoday.com for complete details. That's standtalltoday.com.
Catholic radio was there for me when I needed it. Even though I didn't think I needed it, it was there for me. I want everybody to know that I'm giving, not so that I can sit there and say that I gave to GRN for any other reason but this. I want that radio station to be there for anyone else who needs it also. They may not think they need it, but it's going to be there for them, whether it's in the future, whether it's right now. I want that radio station to always be there for them, just like it was there for me.
The Guadalupe Radio Network. Radio for your soul.
And welcome back to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Praise be to God. It's good to be on with you today. It's always good to be with you. No matter what they say. Rudy, I'm looking at you. I'm just kidding. Rudy's very positive, actually. You know, it's funny. Rudy is way too nice to me on the radio. It's just like
off air. Don't even speak about.
Yeah,
off
he's
air.
like scourging me. He's scourging me. But on air, he's very nice. When he's not being tricky. He's not being tricky. But it's good to be
Foreshadowing?
here. Interesting. But what we're talking about right now, though, is Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list. We're joined right now by Andrew Petiprin. And before we went to a break, we were talking about what the Vatican film list was, why some of the movies were chosen, and the fact that not every movie on this list is for every person. So parents, just because it's on the Vatican film list doesn't mean it's okay to watch with your kids. Still have a very discerning eye. But good morning to you, Mr. Petiprin.
Good morning. Glad to be with you.
Praise be to God. It's good to have you on. You know, I was looking through the list, and there were a lot of movies here that are some of my favorites. And one of my favorite movies is Roma Città, which is Rome Open City. And I think this movie is absolutely amazing. By chance, I'm like, there's like 1 in 40 chance. Did you, or 11 in 40 chance, I suppose, did you happen to review this movie?
No, that one wasn't mine, but I have seen Rome Open City, and I love it. It's Roberto Rossellini is the director, and it's maybe the greatest example of Italian neo-realist cinema. It's a powerful movie, and it's unique in that it doesn't. Most of the actors in the movie are not professional actors, and it was filmed in the rubble of Rome, in the kind of post-World War II landscape, and it's a very powerful movie about resisting evil, about I believe, even though it's kind of bleak, about the triumph of the faith, really, in this eternal city, the eternal significance of the faith amid all of the turmoil of world affairs.
Do you happen to know the song "O Rome Eternal"?
No, I don't. No.
It's this very beautiful, triumphalistic song it's kind of an anthem to Rome and to the beauty and love of Rome and to the papacy. And I almost would think that having those trumpets, because it's played with organs and trumpets, and I think that would be a beautiful way to end that movie. Because at the end of the movie, I won't spoil anything because I do think people should watch this movie. It's tremendous. But as you see at the end of the movie, you see Rome in the distance, and it kind of plays a little bit of a somber tone. But I almost would have liked it if it had a triumphalistic tone. Like the trumpets start playing, the organs start playing, and you're seeing that even though it has I'm trying to be vague, a dour ending, it still has an element of hope, and I think that's amazing.
Yes. Well, Adrian, there's another film on the list also by Roberto Rossellini, and that film is The Flowers of St. Francis, which is a great movie about St. Francis of Assisi and his cohort. And that's a movie that is really lighthearted and very much full of hope. And so that's another great example of a film by the same director from the same country that is, and also in the post-World War II landscape, Rossellini was trying to kind of give hope to his people and to his continent after the difficulties that they had been through. So that's another great one that listeners should check out.
So The Flowers of St. Francis, it's funny you brought that up because that was on the list of ones that I wanted to bring up. And the reason why I'm curious is because I've read The Flowers of St. Francis, and it, to me, and I've never seen the movie, to me, it does not lend itself to being a movie. So how did they kind of create this into it? How did they turn this into a movie?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's actually 9 vignettes that are strung together, because my understanding is that the book is sort of told in as a series of vignettes of stories that are, that characterize the ministry of St. Francis of Assisi and his followers, and St. Clare, and sort of everything that was going on at that time. And that's the way the movie plays out as well. There are 9 independent, basically short stories that are put together as one film, but telling basically one story about this wonderful ministry of St. Francis and his followers. And it is a funny movie, because St. Francis and his followers the movie begins with them playing in the rain, that they had this sort of joy about them. And that's something that to this day, I think we would recognize somewhat characterizes Franciscans. So that's just a wonderful movie. I highly recommend that to the faithful. And that definitely is one that kids can watch, that anybody can watch. I think even little kids would laugh out loud at a couple of parts in that movie.
I think the coolest thing is, and I didn't know this until I was looking through the book, y'all have a footnote here, or I guess a sidebar we'll call it, where it mentioned that these are actual real Franciscans that were being filmed.
Yes, that's right. And that's a wonderful thing about that movie, that Rossellini wanted to use real monks. And there's a funny story actually at the end when he wanted to do something for the monks, but of course they weren't able to accept payment as actors for their roles because they don't have incomes, right? So what he asked them, what would you like? And they asked for a fireworks display for their town. And so Roberto Rossellini paid to have a beautiful fireworks display done for this little town in southern Italy where these monks had their monastery, or where these friars had their community. So it's real neat.
Wow, what a grace. Okay, so here is one thing. We'll go backwards to a little bit big picture for a second. Should the Vatican issue an updated version of this list, or are you thinking, okay, we've done the classics, we don't want this list to become 400 movies long, we're good how it is, or do you think there should be an updated list?
This is such a big question that people who are really into Catholicism and film are talking about right now. You know, the film list, as I said, came out in 1995, which is, as we know, quite a long time ago now. And there's only one movie on the entire list that came out later than the 1980s, and that's Schindler's List. Now, for my money, the 1990s that was a great period of film. And we've had, although there have been a lot of bad movies in recent years, there have also been a lot of really great movies in recent years. And so I would love for there to be an updated list. Sadly, I would be surprised if there ever was one that officially came out of the Vatican. And the reason is I just think that it probably would be too contentious. You know, back in 1995, we didn't have social media. We didn't have such a big internet presence. And so the Vatican could just issue something like that and people could talk about it amongst themselves. I have a feeling now that if the Vatican issued a list of films, it would just stoke controversy in areas where we already have lots of controversy. So it may not happen, but you know, I certainly am playing with the idea of writing another book, or maybe collaborating with my co-authors on another book where we can talk about what we might put on a list if we were put in charge of creating such a thing.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to see a 90s to 2024 movie list. That would be very interesting to read. Now, okay, so talking about some of these being controversial, which one of these movies do you think would be considered a little bit more controversial, kind of surprising? Someone might be saying, why is that on the list?
Well, there are several, I would say. One of them is the 1986 movie by Andrei Tarkovsky, who was a great Russian director, and he was an Eastern Orthodox Christian, although he had a little bit of a complicated relationship with Christianity. But his film, The Sacrifice, is a very difficult film. It includes some thematic things that I might not even mention on the radio because there are probably young people listening. But it is far from a film that you know, people who have kind of sensitivities to, you know, things like sex and you know, and sort of deeper, like, you know, philosophical issues and stuff like that might want to check out. But it is a brilliant movie for those who kind of are up to it. So, you know, I personally recommend that one, but I would be careful to whom I recommended it, you know, so that's one. You know, there are others on the list as well. Definitely, there's a movie called 8.5 on the list by Federico Fellini. Now that is a really interesting one, and I didn't have the privilege of writing that chapter, but I have written about 8.5 in other areas. 8.5 is on the list, even though it is actually a movie that was on a different list, namely a list called the Condemned Film List.
That's what I
thought.
was
created by, there was a group called the Legion of Decency, and for about 50 years, they rated films that came out of Hollywood and out of Europe, and there were a whole lot of them that they gave a C rating to, which was officially called condemned, which was, you had an official status that Catholics ought not to watch them. But 8.5, although it was on the condemned list, ended up on the Vatican film list. And it too is a complicated movie. It has thematic things that are, you know, not entirely edifying, but I think ultimately it is a really important movie, and one that a lot of Catholics really ought to watch. You know, I mean, in a sense, like, the theme of that movie is a director trying to make an anti-church movie, but finding in the end that it's impossible. That by engaging with Christianity, he, in a sense, can't not affirm it.
You know, so it's interesting you bring up 8.5. In college, I took a Italian film class, and, you know, that's like a stereotypical, like, college thing to do, right? But I took a Italian film class, and 8.5 was one of the movies we watched, and it was like, it felt like a fever dream. I really thought the movie was, and I guess that's kind of the style of Fellini, is to be that way, like a little manic, and one might say, or manic, I suppose is the correct pronunciation. But that is very interesting. Are there any other movies on this list that were also condemned?
No, that's the only one on the list that was officially condemned. But there are other ones that the condemned list was always a strange thing. I mean, it wasn't always clear kind of why a certain thing would be condemned versus wouldn't. And I can imagine there are a few others on the list that might have been. But for the most part, I wouldn't say. For the most part, I would say most of those films are ones that have pretty clear themes that coincide with a Christian, Christian theology and Christian virtue, albeit in a not always straightforward way.
Well, here's a hot take real quick. Citizen Kane is on this list, and honestly, I get the value in terms of its of its importance and being one of the first movies to pioneer a bunch of different styles, but I think it's an incredibly boring movie. But anyway, the other one last thing we'll talk about, we're running out of time here, is the discussion questions. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so we set up the book so people could really use it to engage with the films if they had never seen them. Because we realized, I think over 25 films out of the 45 are European films in foreign languages, right? So these are not exactly your, just pull them off the shelf and watch them easily. So we wanted to create not only discussion questions, but also we wanted to put factoids, like little tidbits of information about like the making of the films and stuff like that, and then also have really great full color still photographs from the movie so that people could really get a sense reading the book of what the movies were like. So we put those discussion questions in there to kind of try to bring each film back around to how watching the film might help somebody in their faith. And so we imagine that you might even have a little film club at a church, or you might have you might watch it with friends or something like that, and then use the discussion questions to really try to focus on what are the elements in the films that are really valuable.
Well, we have just about a minute left, so I'm going to ask you a major question. Tell me about, real quick, in like 30 seconds, Fantasia.
Fantasia, yeah. Well, so Fantasia is the only Disney movie on the list. And, one of the discussion questions we put in the book is we wanted to ask people, what do you think about Disney? I mean, are Disney movies good for us to watch or not good for us to watch? For my part, I think it's kind of a mixed bag. But Fantasia is a really unusual Disney movie because it's a movie that is set to great pieces of classical music, and they're all different kinds. Some of them are more abstract, like it's just colors flashing, and then other ones are funny, like the hippopotamus is doing ballet, and then of course there's the Sorcerer's Apprentice, Mickey. So that's another one where it's a little bit of a mixed bag, and we want to help sort of guide people if they choose to watch it to see what is maybe edifying about it.
Well, that's very interesting. So thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Petiprin, for being on with us. God bless you. God love you. Where can people pick up the book?
You can get the book anywhere you buy your books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or you can get it from our publisher, Word on Fire. There's also an ebook version.
So check it out. Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list. We'll be right back.
This is Life News Radio. I'm Jim Anderson. Former Planned Parenthood manager, now a pro-life activist, Abby Johnson says every day girls as young as 13 are taken from school without parental knowledge for abortions, even out of state. New undercover video shows how easily adults can aid or coerce, assist, or arrange abortions, even to avoid abortion bans or parental awareness. On the other side of the equation, pro-life pregnancy support centers are performing heroic work. The Charlotte Lozier Institute surveyed well over 2,500 such centers in all 50 states, and their report is encouraging. In the year Roe was overturned, over 16 million client visits and nearly 1 million new clients reported a 97% positive rating. This is Life News Radio. We must have an end to abortion and an end to the toxic watershed of ideas behind its causes. We hope you pray for an end to abortion daily. If the problem were simple, we could have a simple answer. But abortion is rooted in a long, tangled web of lies about human life and the dignity of the human person. Pray daily for a culture of life. During next week's March for Life, the American Life League is rolling out a charity watch list online tool. The goal is to make clear which mainstream nonprofits support abortion and those groups that can be safely supported in view of the life issue. And Catholic Vote says conscience rights initiated by President Trump are being eliminated in new HHS rules released this week. Tom McCluskey says strong pro-life opposition avoided a return to full-on Obama-era proposals, but vague enforcement protections may leave pro-life doctors' conscience rights unprotected. For pro-life headlines delivered to your email address daily, sign up at lifenews.com. This has been Life News Radio.
Hi, I'm Adam Bly with Debbie Georgiani from The Spirit World.
Join us this Saturday as we discuss the role of Our Lady in spiritual warfare.
The Blessed Mother plays different roles under different titles depending on our needs.
We are also taking your calls this Saturday on The Spirit World at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Visit grnonline.com/spiritworld.
And welcome back to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Praise be to God. It's good to be on with you today. It's always good to be with you, actually. Not just today, but every day. But especially today. It's especially good today.
What about the weekends?
Well, it's actually the saddest days.
Because we're not together.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate.
I actually wake up in the morning after sleeping in, and I shed a single tear.
Just one.
A single tear runs down my face, off my chin,
like
into my lap.
That classic ad from the 80s. The man just turns to the camera.
Single tear.
Single tear in the eye.
Whew. So, it's good to be with you today. Tomorrow will be a day of sorrows. And Sunday will also be a day of sorrows. And Monday will be joyful again because we'll be back together again. You know, we just wrapped up an awesome conversation about Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list with Andrew Petiprin. And I guarantee you, we're going to be talking about this during the after show. So if you'd like to join us in the after show, you can join us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Rumble. Just look up Catholic Drive Time on the social media platforms, and you can join us. We're going to talk about our favorite movies, talk about what we kind of think about it, because honestly, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm kind of gonna think out loud during the after show about what I think about the Vatican film list. And we also will be celebrating Tim Mott's birthday, so maybe Rudy and I will sing him Las Mañanitas during the after show. So stick with us. You're gonna want to jump onto our social media feeds. Look up Catholic Drive Time on our social media feeds, and you can find us there. You can see our beautiful smiling faces, and you can also interact with us. Leave a comment and give us your thoughts about our topics for the day. But, you know, I can't stand it anymore. I can't stand the fact that we haven't had Dave Palmer on in over a week. So, good morning to you, Dave. It's fine. It's good to finally have you back on.
Over a week? Hasn't it been like 3 weeks? It's been a long time, hasn't it?
It's been forever,
It's been
Dave.
too long.
It's been too
and you know,
long.
I shed a single tear today as well, Adrian, if I may say so. I bought Tim $100 worth of pay it forward tickets for his birthday, and then I realized he can't win the car.
Oh!
So I had to, because he's a GRN employee, so I had to give him to somebody else. But you know, it's the thought that counts, right?
Where can people go if they wanted to get a pay it forward ticket? Not for Tim though, because he can't win.
Yeah, you guys should probably mention that a time or two during the show, where people can go. But it's, since you haven't said it, I'll say it, okay? grnonline.com/raffle, okay? Now it's been said on Catholic Drive Time.
There you go. First time mentioned on Catholic Drive Time, grnonline.com/raffle. Pick up a raffle ticket to win a brand new Mercedes-Benz, or to pay it forward so someone else can win a brand new Mercedes-Benz. But Dave, I can't stand the fact that we haven't talked about St. Thomas Aquinas in a while. I've been mourning over the fact that we haven't had this discussion together. So what's the topic on the board for Back to the Father today?
All right, we're going to go really light today, all right? It's going to be a really light conversation.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about the philosophy of 18th century German philosopher Immanuel Kant. And how his philosophy differs from St. Thomas Aquinas, who lived many centuries before him. And I often talk about that encyclical. I love Aeterni Patris. Leo XIII put it out in 1879, basically saying, listen, everybody, we got to go back to Thomistic philosophy. We got to get back to scholasticism because these crazy philosophers are running around kind of messing everything up in the world. And that's a paraphrase. That's not a direct quote from the encyclical. But I would say that Immanuel Kant would be one of the primary philosophers that Leo XIII would have had in mind when he wrote that. He didn't name names in the encyclical, but I think Kant would have been one of the most problematic for him.
Okay, well, here's the thing, Dave. Immanuel Kant, he's just some philosopher of the 1800s. He has no relevance to us today. Why should we care about who this Immanuel Kant character is?
Okay, good question. Yeah, he basically is the guy who first kind of proposed making truth subjective. Okay, so the truth is not something we discover, the truth is something we construct. All right, so that would be the simplest way of talking about Immanuel Kant's and what he called himself the Copernican revolution in philosophy. Okay, just like Copernicus said, no, the sun is not revolving around the earth, it's the earth revolving around the sun. So Kant said, well, my philosophy is basically changing everything up and saying instead of discovering the truth and our minds conform to the truth of the reality, which, originally is in the mind of God, we're constructing our truth within ourselves. So it becomes very subjective. And I think it wouldn't take much to realize that you can see the echoes and the consequences of that in our culture today, where people are trying to reconstruct their own truth within themselves. And you got to go back to Kant. I mean, he was the architect of this kind of mindset.
Well, it's very interesting, Dave, that you bring that up, because a lot of the problems, both inside and outside of the church, are part of the issue of a denial of realism. At least that's my opinion. And I say, of course, this means we should return back to Thomas, right? But in very practical terms, if people are starting from a premise, from an idea, and they are holding fast to that idea as the foundational element, I mean, it cannot be questioned. It is an axiom. So then they look at the world around them and reality contradicts their idea. Well, they have an option. They have a choice to make. Do they conform their ideas to reality, or do they conform reality to their ideas? And the error I see most commonly done today is that many people are trying to make reality conform to their ideas rather than conforming their ideas to reality. Would you agree, Dave?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly true. I mean, you can take one of the most obvious cases would be the modern issue of transgenderism, or people choosing their own gender, and that's a classic example. Now Kant would probably roll over in his grave because he at least claimed to be a Christian, and I don't think he would have seen this coming. But where people, instead of seeing an objective truth of their sex, basically created in their mind. And again, like I said before, you got to go back to the philosophical kind of foundations of this as to why people kind of think this is okay. Where more and more people are saying, yeah, truth is subjective. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a good point.
And I think it's important to study these things because many people may think, okay, well, can you just tell me the ideas and their errors and refute them from today? But I think it's very important to go back to the root of the problem, because we need to know where we've been, how we got to our problem today, what the problem is today, in order to figure out how do we move forward? How do we return to order? How do we return to a world that makes sense, to Christian civilization, if we don't know the root cause of the problem?
Yeah, I agree. And I wonder how many people have ever taken a philosophy course in their life. Seminarians always begin with philosophy before they go into theology, because they have to learn how to think, rationally before they can, try to comprehend the supernatural truths that theology is going to propose. I didn't take my first philosophy. I think I took one philosophy course in college, and then I took one in my 40s. But I think we really do need to rethink this, and and to understand Kant, you got to understand Plato and Aristotle, and of course Aquinas and all the ones that came before him. So, and the other thing, Adrian, and you probably know this, a lot of these books, like the Critique of Pure Reason, which kind of explains Kant's epistemology or his theory of knowledge, it's really hard to read. And so these guys didn't do us any favors by they wrote like Hegel and Heidegger. They wrote these really, really hard to read books, and even if somebody had a will to try to do this, they pick it up and they're 5 pages into it and they're like, forget about this. I'm not going to read this stuff. And so it's challenging, but I think if somebody is able to kind of break it down into bite-sized morsels and explain the basics, I think that's a good thing to learn.
Dave, you're explaining my experience just there. That was me. I went to art school.
Do you feel seen?
I feel very seen. Yeah, I went to art school, and some of our academic classes, they would tell us, okay, we're going to have to read some Kant, some Hegel, some of these philosophers, and I would crack open the books, and I would just think, man, it's over. I'm going to fail this class. It's done. But I think secretly it was a grace, right? Because I was spared of those ideas.
Yeah, I got these books for Christmas. I told my wife, I said, I'm just going to go get like the most challenging. I got Phenomenology of Spirit by Georg Hegel, and I got Being in Time by Martin Heidegger, and I'm all confident, and I'm going to read this stuff. And I'm like, man, this is tough. But, I also want to point out, we're talking about subjectivity. Kant also did that with ethics because he had a thing called the categorical imperative, which is basically the golden rule. But it said act upon that maxim whereby, the choice you make, you would will to be a universal law. And what he meant was that the moral law comes from inside us. It's not the Ten Commandments. It's not the laws of the Catholic faith. It's not anything in the scripture. Is that our law is a duty that comes from us, inside us. And so he took not only our knowledge, but also our ethics, and he brought it from outside into himself. And as you can see, that's not good. No bueno.
It's just like a scuffed version of the ethics that are actually real.
It's interesting because when I was an edgy teenager, Rudy's laughing. He's like, Adrian is not an edgy teenager. Wait, let me get to the punchline here. When I was an edgy teenager, I thought it would be the funnest thing to study the atheist ethics because I liked arguing with atheists. And so that was like my thing. I would go through and I'd started reading up on all these things. So I actually was a huge fan of Kant's categorical imperative because that was the position of deontology, which basically, to just give a 2-second summary, I kind of compared it to like Captain America. Captain America is a classic deontologist. He's the guy who says, I'm going to do what's right no matter what, and I will do it even if there's no circumstances can change the situation. And I was like, that kind of makes sense. It kind of gives a little bit of sense. It was the only ethical position from the atheist that made any sort of sense to me. What do you think, Dave? Is Kant, in my mind, he is the best case for atheist?
Yeah, but he wouldn't have claimed to be an atheist himself.
Right,
although
of course.
He was brought up in a very, almost kind of puritanical, Lutheran, pietist kind of family. He did somewhat reject it. I think his whole life he kind of tried to play it both ways. I think in that age, if you were an atheist, it was hard to get jobs in universities, and he was a university professor. So I think he played it both ways, where he came down saying, there's a God, but we can't know him. So there's a truth, but we can't know it. We can only know what basically we can experience. But so in the categorical imperative, I think he's saying I'm going to basically conform my beliefs to what my Christian faith has told me, but I'm going to make it mine and not theirs. And so he kind of stole it from his Christian background and made it very subjective.
Right, and I think that's kind of the position of a lot of atheists today. Like there is the name just flew out of my mind, but there is a famous atheist who has done massive debates with like Ben Shapiro, people like that, and he would hold to this position completely. He's like, oh yeah, I have Christian values, but it's not because of Christianity. And it's very interesting to try to see that. Now, we're just about out of time, Dave. Where can people tune in to see Back to the Father today and make sure they get a quick lesson on Immanuel Kant?
Yeah, and also, I do want to, this show is about Aquinas, and I want to compare his philosophy, especially his epistemology, to what Aquinas would say, because Aquinas is much more beautiful, and it of course, as you would expect, incorporates much more God into the picture than Kant does. But Back to the Father is a social media only program produced by the Guadalupe Radio Network, and it runs every Friday, which is today, 1 o'clock Central Time, on the social media feeds of X, Twitter, and YouTube, and we try to keep it very, fun and casual and not too deep. But if you want to learn something about Immanuel Kant and how he messed up the world, join us today at 1 o'clock.
There you go. Check it out. Look up Guadalupe Radio Network social media feeds, and you'll find that at 1 o'clock Central across our social media feeds, Guadalupe Radio Network. Find us there. God bless you, Dave. We'll talk to you very soon.
All right, Adrian. Thanks a lot. Bye, Rudy.
Happy birthday, Tim. we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're giving away a prize today. You're going to want to win that prize. Dial that number, 877-757-9424, when we come back.
Unbelievers often reject religion because it sometimes causes conflict. They'll say, science will fly you to the moon, religion will fly you into buildings. Is this a rational basis for rejecting religion? The answer is no, and here's the reason. First, just because something causes conflict doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. For example, many wars have been fought over land. Does this mean we should do away with the right to private property? I don't think so. Second, the objection doesn't specify which religions cause war. It may belong to the essence of some religions to spread its message by the sword, and these we should reject, but it doesn't belong to all religions. So, to the question, should I reject religion because it causes conflict? The answer is no. I'm Carlo Broussard with the ready reason for Catholic Answers, Catholic.com.
Hi, Julie Carrick here. I am delighted to be the host of We Sing Our Faith. This weekly program shares beautiful Catholic music and deep insights of many Catholic teachings. Join me on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock Central Time for We Sing Our Faith here on the Guadalupe Radio Network. Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock Central Time, We Sing Our Faith.
Welcome to another round of Fear and Trembling, the Catholic trivia game show that helps you work out your salvation by the seat of your pants. It's a 50-50 chance and prizes are involved. Avoid the weeping and gnashing of teeth. Call now to take your shot. 877-757-9424.
877-757-9424. 877-757-9424. That's the number to call to be part of our game show, Fear and Trembling, where we give out prizes and you could be a winner. In fact, we're giving away the prize today. Today is the day. So if you'd like a chance to win and you called in the past, I saw a number of people called in this week and they weren't able to get on. And I have good news for you because right now, the next person who calls in, 877-757-9424, will have an opportunity to win the prize this week. And there's going to be 3 more opportunities to win. So dial that number, 877-757-9424. Now, you may be asking, what am I listening to? How does this work exactly? What is Fear and Trembling? Well, I have an answer for you. I have 3 Catholic trivia questions right in front of me here. But the trick is, you don't need to know the answers to win. In fact, you could know nothing about Catholicism and still win the prize because I'm not going to ask you the questions. I'm going to ask Rudy the questions. And it's his job to give me an answer. Your job is to tell me if he's right or if he's wrong. And every right answer goes into the coffee cup of divine providence to win this week's prize. Rudy, what could they win?
Praise be to God. This week, we are giving away an image of the holy face of our Lord Jesus. You're thinking, what? Just like a picture of Jesus? What is that? I mean, sounds kind of lame. Actually, it's not. It's the holy face of Jesus, which is a devotion that we are encouraging you to take on in your spiritual life, in your prayer life. The holy face of Jesus is the solution to our problems. He is turning his face to God and pleading our cause. So I pray that whoever wins this holy face image is going to take that on into their house, and maybe they're going to have a better liturgical living situation here, seeing the holy face of Jesus there, face of our Lord Jesus.
Well, praise be to God. So if you'd like to win that prize, dial that number, 877-757-9424. We'd love to have you on, and we'll be giving away that prize today. So at the end of the game show today, we're going to be drawing a name from our list, and your name could be the one that we draw. So make sure you put our number in your phone in speed dial. And put that down, 877-757-9424. Joining us right now is Alicia. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Alicia. Where are you calling in from?
Pearsall, Texas.
Pearsall, Texas. Oh, you've called in the past, right, Alicia?
Yes, I have.
And praise be to God. It's nice to hear your voice again. It's been a while since you've called in. And Alicia, where are you off to this morning?
I'm off to work.
Off to what? That was I sensed a tinge of sadness. Alicia, it's good to be here today. It's good to be here. What do you do for work?
I work in a warehouse.
Okay, well, praise be to God. Praise be to God, Alicia. I know for a fact that you're going to make the day amazing today because it's Friday and
Yes,
it's
it is.
also Epiphany Tide. So we're still celebrating Christmas joy. I'm playing Christmas music personally. What about you, Alicia?
Yes, I am.
Hey!
Let's go.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it.
Christmas tree is still up.
Yeah, Christmas tree is still up. Oh, Christmas tree. How I love your branches. And particularly my house. I love the plastic branches. It makes less of a mess.
Yes.
Now, Alicia, you are a veteran. You know how to play the game. Are you ready to jump in? Is Rudy going to be tricky or is he going to be easy today?
I hope he's easy today because I would really like to win that prize.
All right. Well, we're going to...
For my altar. I have an altar at my home.
Well,
praise be to Jesus. That's awesome.
Let's find out. Let's find out, Rudy. How are you feeling today, Rudy?
You know, I'm feeling conflicted. I'm a complex individual. I want to be less tricky, but tricky is just my nature, you know? And I don't know. I'm at odds with myself.
Yeah, the trickiest thing about it is he's not even wearing a tie today. So, yeah, I know. What does it mean? I have no clue. All right, let's jump in. Question number 1 for you, Rudy. Who is the patron saint for those who felt threatened by thunderstorms and fires?
Man, when you were a kid, who did you run to?
My mom.
Exactly, your mom. Your mom was always there to comfort you. And Our Lady is always there.
Oh, you thought you were going to say my mom.
Oh.
My mom in particular.
Our Lady is always
okay.
there to comfort her children. That is Our Lady of the Typhoons.
Our Lady of the Typhoons.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an epic name. That's an epic title.
You've never heard of that one?
I've never heard of that one.
Oh, man. That one's in Spain.
Well, praise be to God. All right, Alicia. 15 seconds on the clock. The question on the board is, who is a patron saint for those who felt threatened by thunderstorms and fires? Rudy says it's Our Lady of the Typhoons. What say you, Alicia? Is he right or is he wrong?
I think he's wrong. I've never heard of that saint.
All right. Well, let's see. The survey says that is correct. There is no such thing as Our Lady of the Typhoons. So I don't know why you couldn't just call her that. I mean, sure, you can just give her that title. Why not? Why not? But what is the correct answer?
The correct answer is St. Barbara, which is ironic because California doesn't really get any sort of, well,
that's why.
Well, they get earthquakes. They get fires. Okay, maybe it makes sense.
St. Barbara. They're known for their wildfires.
Thunderstorms, though, not really.
But St. Barbara, isn't she also the patron saint of like coal miners or something?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, there you go, Alicia. You're doing amazing. You're 100% success rate so far. Are you ready for question number 2?
Yes, I am.
Let's do it. Rudy, the question. Where was Paul when he wrote the epistles to the Colossians, Philippians, and Philemon?
Colossians, Philippians, and Philemon. All right. So some people think that working from home is this brand new thing just because it happened during COVID. And they're like, oh, it's so cool, so awesome. It's actually an ancient practice, being a flex employee. And St. Paul was actually working from home that day.
He zoomed in.
He zoomed in.
No way.
Via a letter.
Oh, quite interesting.
And the employees were like, man, aren't you just at home right now?
No, side note, that just reminded me, like zooming in the first century, right, is the fact that there in Venerable Mary of Agrada's Mystical City of God, it talks about the angels like just picking Peter up and transporting him from Rome to other places when he needed to meet somebody real quick and then take him back to Rome.
Amazing.
Isn't that crazy? It's like a Zoom meeting from the first century. Anyway.
I want that today.
Right? Imagine the swiftness of movement. Okay. Anyway, 15 seconds on the clock, Alicia. The question is, where was Paul when he wrote the epistles to the Colossians, Philippians, and Philemon? Rudy says that he was at home. He was doing a flex schedule and he was working from home that day. What say you, Alicia?
I don't know the answer, but I'm going to disagree.
You're going to disagree. You see, yesterday the person wanted to err on the side of agreeing. She's erring on the side of disagreeing. Let's find out if that was a good idea. Survey says that is correct, Alicia. It is, in fact, wrong. No, he was in house arrest in Rome, which I guess is like kind of working from home, but he was a prisoner. He was a prisoner.
We gave it to you anyway.
Yeah, he was a prisoner, a house arrest in Rome, and so he wasn't really doing a flex schedule. He wasn't working from home. He was arrested. All right, Alicia, are you ready for question number 3?
Yes, I am.
Let's do it. Question number 3 for you. The question on the board is, man consists of what 2 essential parts?
Yeah, so I was talking about this with Dave Palmer during the break. If you like Dave Palmer, you can check out his show, Back to the Father, 1 p.m. across the GRN social network. And he told me it was the agony and the ecstasy. Those are the 2 parts that compose man. Those are the essential parts.
The agony
and the ecstasy.
Yeah.
In other words, it's over. We are so back. It's over. We are so back. The natural ebb and flow
the good and the
of
bad.
humanity.
The good and the bad.
Exactly.
I see it. I'm picturing it. I have an image of the agony and the ecstasy in my mind. I'm rotating it 360 degrees. I can see it on every side. All right, Alicia. 15 seconds on the clock. The question is, man consists of what 2 essential parts? Rudy says that it's the agony and the ecstasy. Alicia from Parasol, Texas, what say you?
I think I'm going to agree with him this time.
You're going to agree with him this time. Ooh, that's a bold thing to do, Alicia. You're sure you want to agree with Rudy on a Friday?
The agony, the ecstasy. Try and decide.
Okay, no, I'm going to say he's wrong.
Well, let's see. Let's find out. She's going to go with he's wrong, she says. Let's see. Survey says that is correct. It is not the agony and the ecstasy. It's, in fact, a body-soul composite. Human beings are body-soul composites. 2 parts, body and soul. When the body and soul are rended apart, that's what we call death. Death. And so the definition of death is not brain death. It's not heart stopping. It's the rending of the body and the soul. All right, Alicia, stay on the line. We're going to unchain our drummer boy. And so we're going to see if we can get that drummer running.
Drummer boy.
And here we go. He finished playing Little Drummer Boy earlier, and now he's ready for us. And so we're going to draw a name. Rudy is shuffling them around, and he's going to pick one. One right. No, don't pick that one. Don't pick that one. That one. Yeah, that one. That one. Okay, that one. Okay.
Let's take a look here.
Oh
man.
No. It is.
Tune in next week to find out. Just kidding. It's Annabelle Mason. Annabelle, you have
praise
won
be to God,
the
Annabelle.
Holy Face image.
Well, congratulations, Annabelle. Alicia, I'm so sorry. Your name was not drawn, but I would encourage you to nonetheless go get an image of the Holy Face today. But God bless you, Alicia. God love you, and have a very blessed weekend.
You too. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas, and have a blessed New Year. We're going to go into the after show. Tons to talk about. We're going to sing Las Mañanitas to Tim Mott, our producer. It's his birthday today. We're going to talk about popcorn with the Pope. We're going to talk about our favorite movies. And I'm going to share with you a really cringe story from me in high school. And I just told Rudy the story, and he was laughing at me. So I'm going to share it with you. So tune in. Look up Catholic Drive Time across our social media feeds, and you can tune in there. And we'd love to interact with you directly. But if not, we'll see you Monday morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 Eastern, across the Guadalupe Radio Network and Catholic Spirit Radio. God bless you. God love you. And we'll see you very soon.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.
It's over.
We're back.
It's over.
We're back.
It's so over.
We're back.
It is so over.
We are so back.
Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Agony. Breathe out. Ecstasy. And that is, my friends, what we call life. Every day, every moment. Whew.
There you go.
Lots of chat today. That was pretty cool. I'd like to see that.
We got Jorge Martin Baez. Good morning to you. Praise be to God. You're a first-time commenter, I think, Jorge. Well, praise be to God. Welcome to the team. We love having you here.
Jorge, slight correction. This is the Guadalupe Radio Network, not Relevant Radio.
It's okay.
But we're happy to
It
have
happens.
you. We're happy to have you. Actually, we love to have you here. Awesome to see you. We have Marie Dezine. Good morning. She says, "Who is that? Rudy? LOL? What do you mean?" Good morning, Marie. It's good to see you here. And Eric Rodriguez. He says, "Tricky. Run DMC. What's Run DMC? Oh, Run DMC is the band. Okay, or the music artist. Who else do we have here? Lucy. Good morning. And who else do we have here? I saw Brooks. Okay, Brooks. Good morning to you, Brooks. Good to have you here. And Nick Carboni, as well as Bernadette Molesky. And who else is in here? I think that's all. Oh, no. Becky Dominguez, good morning. She says, happy birthday. Have a blessed birthday, Tim. Tim is, how old are you today? 23? 22?
I'm going to guess. Oh, I was going to make a guess. Darn.
42?
That's like an important number.
Yeah, supposedly, according to Hitchhiker's Guide. That's a really important number.
6 times 7. It's good.
Why?
Oh, and Alan Smith is here. Alan Smith, good morning. How's the snow? How's the permafrost out there? You see any woolly mammoths running around over there?
Lori and Lucretia are on with us on Facebook. Lori says, happy birthday, Tim. So happy birthday. Lucretia says, happy birthday, Tim. God bless you. So we got prayers for Tim today. And all right, Rudy, are you ready to sing Las Mañanitas?
Okay.
We're not going to...
I kind of understand the cadence, but then once we get to like the middle part, I'm like, wait, that doesn't fit the...
Well, the good news is I also don't know what I'm doing either, so it'll just be a train wreck altogether.
Okay, all right, let's try it.
We'll just do the first... Here, I'm gonna put it in the chat so we're looking at the same thing.
You got to give me a split screen here, Lucy, or Rudy. I can't
put you...
Yeah, I don't know how to do a split screen on this switcher here. You got to show me how.
Yeah, okay, we'll figure it out.
We'll just switch back and forth every like
I'll go
5
really
seconds.
fast. Just give everybody vertigo.
Okay. All right, ready?
Just pretend you're playing a video game and you're mashing the buttons. All right.
Imagine.
Is there an open source version of the song that we can play without it getting like?
I doubt it. I really do. Well, I bet. Nah, I can't think of any. I bet we could find one somewhere if we looked. But
all right, we're just gonna
sing. All right.
Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David. Hoy por ser día de tu santo, te las cantamos a ti. Despierta, Tim, despierta. Mira que ya amaneció. Los pajarillos cantan, la luna ya se metió.
And many more.
Okay, I have no idea what that's
now
about.
It's time.
So the English translation is, this is the morning song that King David sang, because today is your saint's day. We're singing it for you. Wake up, my dear, wake up, which they changed my dear to whoever's name it is. So wake up, Tim, wake up.
Eric says we failed.
Look, it has already dawned. The birds are already singing and the moon has set. And then the next verses that go on from there is, how lovely is the morning in which I come to greet you. We all came here with joy and pleasure to congratulate you. The morning is coming now. The sun is giving us light. Get up in the morning. Look, it has already dawned. The day you were born, all the flowers were born. On the baptismal font, the nightingale sang, I would like to be the sunshine to enter through your window to wish you good morning while you're lying in your bed. I would like to be a St. John. I would like to be a St. Peter to sing to you with the music of heaven. Of the stars in the sky, I have to lower 2 for you, one with which to greet you, the other to wish you goodbye.
Hey, Tim, can we license that song for Morning Joy?
Let's do it.
Is that on Universal?
I mean, that's actually really lyrical.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Right?
Much better than the American Happy Birthday.
All right, Tim. Here's the Marilyn Monroe version.
No! Okay, mic off. Okay.
It's cringe.
Mr. Timot.
No.
Mr. Producer. Mr. Producer.
Ugh. Ugh.
Oh,
that's so gross. I despise Melon Monroe.
Hey, Adrian, thanks for the gift this morning.
Yeah,
Did you notice that I wore my sacrilegious Guadalupe yesterday?
I did not.
You did?
Yeah, and then you gave me the sacrilegious San Giovanni today. That's
There
awesome.
you go. Praise be to
that's
God.
cool.
Praise be to God. Amazing.
All right, so it's agony and ecstasy in the chat. Some people are saying that's a failure. You guys sucked. And other people are like, wow, that's really good singing, guys. That's really nice of you guys.
All right.
Thoughts?
All right.
I thought it was pretty bad.
Who said it's a fail?
Eric.
Let's see. Eric says, Eric, you're banned from my kingdom.
You're no longer our favorite listener.
You are no longer a doge.
You are allowed to think that my singing is horrible because it is, but you're just not allowed to say it out loud. Okay?
True.
All right.
True.
You can think whatever you want in the
So
privacy
true,
of your own
King.
mind. So there you go.
You can even rotate it 360 degrees in your mind.
So true.
I don't mind, but don't say it out loud.
All right, let's see. Tammy says, bravo, guys. Well done. Lucy says, that was good. Jorge says, good job then. Que linda está la mañana. Becky says, great job, Adrian and Rudy.
Can
Tammy
we get
says, that's
Polichicho
beautiful.
to call in? Polichicho, if you're listening, Polichicho, call in right now. We want to hear you sing.
Call in. You can help us sing. Sing with us. Yeah, but the song is beautiful. So the Happy Birthday song was originally written, the Spanish one, was written for Our Lady. And so it would be sung on her birthday. And so on the feast of the Nativity of Our Lady, they would sing Las Mañanitas. And then it became just the Happy Birthday song. So on people's birthday, you sing Las Mañanitas. So there you go. And so they would often sing it on the Feast of Our Lady Guadalupe too, and other things. So it's things like that. Jorge says, we need a mariachi accompaniment. That's true. That's the reason why it wasn't so good. It was because we lacked a mariachi. That's the real reason.
And then the drums come in, and it's just like, oh, man. So good.
Lucy says, the Academy made up their own Happy Birthday song because Mr. Byron hates the generic Happy Birthday song. I would love to hear that. I would love to hear the Academy's Happy Birthday song. My friends...
Which Academy?
The St. Louis de Montfort Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's where her brothers go to school. And my friends actually wrote they set Happy Birthday to the song, oh my goodness, hold on, I gotta look it up because I forgot the name, it just flew out of my mind. I don't know why, because I've sung it like a billion times, but it just vanished from my brain. El Cid. So if you don't know El Cid, I'm going to play it right here. And then this is the tune to which they set the Happy Birthday song to. Let's see. So they set Happy Birthday to that, but they had kept the same lyrics, but they set it to that. And it's really funny because this family is incredibly musically talented. So they even broke it into 3 parts and they sang it like that. So they would sing that for everybody's birthday for like years. It was pretty fun. Lucy says they put it to the TFP South St. Joan of Arc music. That's cool. Let's see.
I introduced Maria to the TFP
music,
student action music, and she enjoyed it.
Did you play Pure Maid of France?
I did.
It's so beautiful.
It was good.
It's so beautiful.
I was getting emotional in the car. I'm like, all right, anyway, next song here. We were like on the way to the park. I was about to like jump on the kayak. I'm like, this is kind of bumming me out.
It's kind of somber.
It is somber, yeah.
But
the tone is. But I think the content is not.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Let me see. I'll play a bit of it. Let's see. So I'll read the lyrics to you in a second.
The agony.
The ecstasy. So, let's go to the frame real quick. Okay, stop it there. So the lyrics are, pure maid of France, the Prince of Angels called you to a mission sublime, for God, for country, for all time. Bold, maiden fair, your words of courage filled the knights with zeal for the cause, and cease their breaking of God's laws. Saint Joan of Arc, come now to our aid. Free our land from sin and vice, we ask through your great sacrifice. Make us all pure, strong, faithful, and brave. Jesus, Mary, lead the way to win the battles of today. So young in years, yet sent by heaven to restore the kingdom of France and bid the soldiers to advance. See now our youth in error bondage. Raise up now young heroes to fight for God, for honor, for the right. Through toil and strife and prisons, dungeons, greater did your light shine for all. Though tested, never did you fall. When wicked men conspire against us, give us all the grace to prevail in saintly virtue without fail. So those are the lyrics. It was written by Mr. Ben Broussard with the TFP, and then sung by Mr. Alvaro with the TFP.
Victor Mendoza is in the chat, and Victor, I'm going to call you out a little bit. How goes the hunt? You know what we're talking about. Let us know. How's the hunt going? Successful?
Let's see.
Is it agony? Is it ecstasy? Hopefully, it's ecstasy for years to come.
Nick says, in Polish, you sing 100 lat. I do not know 100 lat. I'm going to look that up. I'm guessing that's the Polish happy birthday song. 100 lat, nish zaj nam. 100 years, may they live. 100 years, may they live. Once again, may they live, may they live. That's the lyrics. Yeah, Mexico wins. The Las Mañanitas is the best. I'm sorry. Nothing competes, man. Craig says, well, if you use myself as a baseline, you guys win a AMA with your rendition. Thanks.
Sweet.
Thanks, Craig. What do you think, Tim? 1 out of 10, where do we land for our musical abilities?
Hey, musical abilities I'm not going to comment on, but I very much appreciate the song and the translation.
Man.
That was for introducing me to that. I did not know. I mean, I've lived in California, I've lived in Texas, and I had not heard that song before.
So
Tim, you lived in a really cool place in California. You lived up in the what they call the oh my goodness, I forgot what they're called.
Anaheim?
The Santa Monica Mountains, right? No, not the Santa Monica Mountains.
I lived on the north side of Anaheim and then on the south side of Anaheim.
But you went to school near the greatest mountain.
Oh yeah.
range,
The
which
Whittier Hills.
What? I thought you were up by Azusa.
No. Azusa was a rival. I went to Biola.
Oh,
I was in La Mirada,
right.
it's
Never
not
mind.
that great of a neighborhood.
Yeah, never mind.
Speaking of school,
I used to work near La Mirada. Ugh.
Marie
Took me an hour
says,
to get there.
tell us your high school story, Adrian. Okay.
Cool.
I'll tell you my high school
Okay,
story.
here we go.
So this is super cringe. So I was talking about my edgy teen years when I was reading the atheist philosophers.
I thought you were still in your edgy teen years.
I just got out of my teen years.
Oh, okay.
I'm now.
Now you're edgy 20-something.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. I broke through. I broke through my teen years. The edginess have not gone away, but the teens have. So when I was an edgy teen, I was super into debating atheist.
Debate me.
And then I also later would get into Protestant apologetics. But I thought it was super strange because I couldn't understand how atheists got morality. And so it just didn't make sense to me that there could be a good morality without God. So I was like, okay, I need to read about what their ideas are. So I started reading the different atheist philosophers. They kept on referring to two forms. It broke down to basically there were two forms of atheist philosophies of ethics. There's many others, but there's two that are just the most popular. And that was utilitarianism and deontology. Utilitarianism is basically whatever is good for the most amount of people is good. Deontologists say that whatever is You basically make universal axioms. If something is good for all people for all time, then it must be good. So, for instance, he'd say, let's use the example of stealing. If you steal, and now we're trying to analyze, okay, is stealing moral? What if everyone stole all the time and everywhere? It would be a horrible world. Everything would be chaos. And so you know that it would be not a good morality. And so therefore you can never do it. You can never do it. Because that was the deontologist position. And that is with Immanuel Kant. So what did I do as an edgy teenager and as a cringe teenager? I wrote a paper on the philosophy of superheroes. Or Tim is laughing at me in the room over there. And so I wrote a paper and I compared, so I made the analogy of Iron Man as a utilitarian and Captain America as a deontologist and explained how their philosophies lined up and then talked about the errors of why those philosophies actually do not work in the end. And I gave, and this is even more cringe, I gave examples from different comics and the movies to make my point. So there you go. Very cringe.
I don't think you're unique in this, though. I think this has been done before, and not just by students.
Rudy, how often have you written papers about Captain America and Iron Man?
Yeah, I think it's funny how as time goes on, your skills change, your mental blocks that you constructed for yourself just kind of dissolve. Because when I was a younger Rudy Carlos in high school, any sort of academia, even in college, I had the hardest time just like getting papers written, right? Like it's just like, whoa, I have to write 3 pages on this? Like I don't think I could do that. I don't think I can do that. 10 pages? That's impossible. I can't do it. Now I can think about something and I can write it down and I can create a giant paper on it, no problem. Because you have ChatGPT, right? But I never had anything like that where I would write a paper down, try to refute something. The cringiest thing that I did, though, man, I'm going to expose myself here. All right. The cringiest thing that I would do, man, it's embarrassing.
Don't say it then.
It's embarrassing.
Don't say it.
All right, look. There was a reason why I wanted to live in New York when I was an early 20-year-old.
You wanted to be an actor.
No.
Oh.
I had this idea, because again, I went to art school.
You wanted to go to the Shabbat tunnels.
I had this idea, the artists, they would have, like really famous artists, they would have muses. You would have a muse and, you would have this like weird
psychedelic experience.
Parasitic relationship where like she would
Oh,
encourage
no.
you. And, you know, it was like very dependent on, like, I was like, wow, that's cool. I want to go to New York and find a muse and be a fashion photographer and be really well known and all this stuff. And it's just like, oh man, it's so funny. God has such a wonderful way of just like destroying the things that are not of his, right? And I was open to it. I went to New York without a plan. And I was just going to go and be an intern and go into like a fashion company and try and be an intern and learn as much as I could and network and network and network. That was the whole purpose of going over there. So I land. Immediately, I'm having like a crisis, like existential crisis, meltdown mode, like worst anxiety attacks I've had in my entire life because I'm like, whoa, this is kind of a stupid idea. Why did I do this? And I mean, it's funny too because at the time I had a safety net. I could have just gone home. You know, it's not a big deal. So I went there, start interviewing for all these different positions, different companies, magazines, individuals, all this stuff. And overwhelmingly, everybody's like, no, like they wouldn't give me the time of day. Like, nah, good luck though. And I had one friend who put me in contact with New York Magazine, which is a rag. Don't recommend it. But they put me in their photography department as an intern, and that's how I started shooting food and restaurants. And that it was just like a nothing job, right? Because they just needed somebody to go and do something, right? So they'd be like, all right, go to this pizzeria in Brooklyn. You know, it's some chef. Take pictures of the chef. Take pictures of the pizza. We'll put it in the magazine. It was like a little tiny picture and like a 500-page magazine. I'm like, published. Oh, that's so cool. Well, anyway, that experience of failing and going into something different opened up the doors for when I came back to California. I started a professional career shooting editorial stuff for food, restaurants, magazines, and like conceptual stuff with art directors and all that stuff. And it had to take for me to die, to let that idea die, that I wanted to have this well-known, experience where I would have a muse and I would be shooting conceptual photographs and all this stuff. So really funny how God works.
Well,
that's
a cool story, though.
That's the cringiest thing that I can admit at the moment.
It's the cringiest thing, certainly.
I wanted to be
in
a
your mind.
fashion
At least
photographer.
He didn't really do much. At least he didn't do anything.
Well, yeah. At the time, it was frustrating. I was like, man, why is it so hard to be this?
Jorge says, high school cringiest thing was arguing for Sparta military glory. Ouch. He said the cringiest thing I did was being a Catholic socialist back then. Good God, crazy.
Ooh.
Yeah, Jorge. I know you said you used to be a Catholic socialist, but yesterday I read through and put up all the quotes on the different popes from the last 10 popes on socialism, and maybe you find that interesting. I also posted it on all my social media feeds, so if you're interested in that.
You're skipping the most important question in the chat there.
Which one?
Marie said, "What grade did you get on the superhero paper?"
Oh, I did it for fun.
It's like even worse.
No, that is cringy then.
No, I'm a nerd. I am a total, So one thing that high school really did well for me was we had papers all, like Rudy's saying, like he had a 3-page paper. That's so long. We had like every single one of my classes a 5-page paper due almost every single day. So I got really, really good at writing papers.
Wow.
And so whatever you might say about St. Thomas High School, about different things, for sure they prepared you to be a good writer. And so I wrote constantly, and I ended up liking it. So I write a lot.
And now I'm a writer.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
My alias is Luca Orazio Lazzari. I almost forgot. Luca Orazio Lazzari. I am him. He is me.
There you go. Well,
I read satire.
I write for fun when I don't do nothing with it, though, because sometimes I'll get mad about something, and there's I don't like talking about personal things, generally speaking, and so I'll just write a huge paper, and then I will just put it away in a file, and then never to be seen again.
Like an actual file? Like you have one of those steel.
I don't print them out. I do not print them out. They are on my Google Drive, so hopefully no one ever gets access to my Google
Google's
Drive. Google has access to it
man.
all.
Your FBI guy's like, oh, brother.
Man, you've been talking about what? Nah, no one would want to read it because it's like, oh, what is the what is the theological and philosophical understanding of the virtue of hope? The natural virtue of hope versus the supernatural virtue of hope, that kind of thing. So it's things like that. So anyway, it's kind of a nerd.
Okay, well, going back to Dave Palmer's, talk about, Kant and everything. What gets me is how these philosophers can be so influential, writing such dense and obscure and hard to read text. Like, sure, you can come up with all kinds of crazy ideas, but how does that disseminate into the rest of the culture? Because you don't got a bunch of people reading that. Is it? I don't even think you got big influencers reading that kind of stuff.
I have a theory.
So I have a theory too. I think that they're actually picking up on something that's already happening, and it's not their fault.
What do you mean? They're picking up on something, and it's not
the
their fault?
culture's going that way anyway,
Oh, okay.
and the philosophers really kind of just analyzing it almost.
So, there's been a lot of study on this topic actually, on how philosophers get their ideas disseminated. And one of the major ways is through the universities, and this actually goes right with our conversation with Preston yesterday, is that the elites were going to colleges, the elites were being educated in these ideas, and they disseminate the ideas because then they start applying those ideas to their companies, to their different subordinates, things like that. So it's the fact that they target the rich, the princes.
It's all about formation.
Exactly.
That's certainly like the modern experience. Like the modern experience is that, right? Because we always talk about the corruption of the college system, right? But I was listening to, I was actually watching a video the other day on Townsend's. I don't know if you guys watch Townsend's. It's this really cool YouTube channel, and I think it's like early American LARPing, essentially, but it's really informative. So he goes through, talks about recipes, talks about the way that people lived and all that stuff. Well, they have this video on coffee, and I was thinking about it because I was like, man, coffee's really good. How did we get to coffee? So they're explaining how Americans had their experience with coffee, but they contrast it with the European examples. And the reason that coffee became really popular in Europe is because there was coffee houses, right? And you see things like in France, like there were locations that were centered around food and drink where the leading influencers of the time would meet and disseminate and have all these crazy arguments. They would propose different things and all that stuff, and then they would then incorporate the people around because they wanted to be a part of that too, and the ideas would spread from these cafes essentially. So
I think your theory is better than mine. Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
It's probably
though,
a blend of everything, though.
Yeah, it's a blend of everything because that's how it used to be, right? And then they would go out and, the elites would be there because that had a prestige to it. You would go there, you would have coffee,
So it's not like Immanuel Kant.
The leading minds were there.
Is the one who created these ideas.
Right.
He kind of created the most modern version of them.
Or the most systematic
He
version.
packaged it.
Version.
He packaged it.
Yeah, a lot of these problems go back to Martin Luther. These things start with the Protestant Revolution, the Renaissance. These kind of things is where we kind of start seeing those problems rise up. And obviously, you can always trace it back further, but it's good to just have a pinpoint. Okay, last couple minutes. Popcorn with the Pope. Hot take.
I don't like popcorn. Palm oil is poison. Just kidding. Not really.
I want to bring back the Legion of Decency. And I want to condemn a lot of movies and say that they would be a sin for Catholics to watch, just like Legion of Decency did. Obviously, I can't do this because I have no authority whatsoever. But that would be the ideal world for me. And a lot of these movies are a little scandalous. Like 8.5, I was like, why is that on that list? And it was interesting that he brought that up. And there was another Fellini film that's on here that I was like, I think it was La Strada. Yeah, La Strada is on here. And I
like Fellini a lot.
He's very artsy. Very artsy, but he's a little bit manic.
Yeah.
And these movies, some of these are really, really good. Like, obviously it has the Mission, which I think is an excellent movie. Ben-Hur is on here. A Man for All Seasons is on here. The Passion of St. Joan of Arc, Therese. A lot of these movies are really, really, really good. But some of these movies are a little scandalous. And I was like, I don't know if these things should be like, unless you're like talking about critiquing them, but these are like basically getting an endorsement.
Well, I was trying to find. I was looking all over for that original document. I wanted to see it on the Vatican website. I can't find it. There's like a bunch of references to it and a ton of blog posts about it, but I just can't find the original document. So I don't know what they were thinking. Like, 100 years of cinema, we should do something. Let's just make a list of movies. These are important. I mean, it's like, what is the power and force of this document? Does it carry any canonical weight at all?
Well, I guess you'd have to read the document itself, right, to find out. But I would imagine it has nothing. There's no canonical weight at all.
Yeah, was it just a guy's pet project? He made a list in the Vatican and decided to publish it? What?
Yeah, because it's not like he said, when I asked him, he said it wasn't like endorsing these movies. It's just saying that these are significant movies. And so you can't, that the church can't speak authoritatively on how significant a piece of art is. Like, that's not within the confines of the magisterium. So they can certainly make that, and it has the weight of authority from the fact that it's the Rome that's saying it, certainly. But it doesn't have magisterial weight. So I think it's interesting, and a lot of these movies are good, and I would love to like actually have a discussion about some of these movies. The discussion questions are quite interesting. But like one of the movies is Gandhi, and I'm like, Gandhi? Why are we endorsing ecumenism and these syncretistic ideas? Because like one of Gandhi's things is like, oh, we're all the same. We're all Christians, Jews, and Muslims, and we're all these things together. And nah, pass. 0% chance. No, thank you. So I think there's a mixed bag here. It's worth looking at, and it's worth watching some of these movies, but definitely have a critical eye when you're looking at them, I would say. I should have brought this up earlier. It'd be worthy of having a longer discussion. Maybe we'll talk about it on Monday. But God bless you. God love you. See you guys back on Monday. Say a prayer for Tim on his birthday, and we'll see y'all back very soon. And we'll see you on the Telegram chat.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.